PKA Games. Hey there YouTube. Today I'm going to show you a deck profile about the Morphing Jar deck, the Empty Jar. So as we all know, since March 1st came by, the Empty Jar deck took a major hit. But I'm going to show you what you can use to replace it and what you can do for the new format. But right now I'm just going to show you the past one and what you can substitute it with. Let's start out with the heart and soul of the deck, Morphing Jar. The point of this deck is to deck out your opponent by using Morphing Jar, 2, making him discard and draw his whole hand, and thus giving you more ammunition while you discard and redraw. This deck only contains 40 cards, so to not deck yourself out, you must run 2 Needleworms at least to even it out. So when they're sent to the graveyard, you can either bring them back, you can reborn them from the graveyard using either the Shallow Grave or the staple Monster Reborn. So yeah, that's how you don't run out yourself. This deck is an OTK deck or an OTK. That means so you have to keep flipping the Morphing Jar face down and face up by using Book of Eclipse and Book of Moon to flip them face down, like continuously, and Book of Taiyu to put them back face up. Or also using AD Changer in the graveyard. So you banish AD Changer to flip change the battle position of a monster on the field. Hence Morphing Jar to flip them face up and use his effect. So yeah. Since there's only 4 cards that'll put them back face down, and not that many to put them back face up, we need to recycle and reuse by using Magical Stone Excavation to reborn spell cards from the graveyard and reuse them, as in Book of Eclipse and Moon and such, or a Feather of the Phoenix to put them back in the top of your deck. You may think that you have to wait a whole turn to get it back. With this deck, it's truly not that much, because this deck has a lot of draw power by running 3 Upstart Goblins and 2 Dualities. And if you have nothing in your hand, you can run 2 Magical Mallets just for the hell of it. Sadly, as we all know, the 3 days of peace, or the weekend of peace, as I like to call it, or half week of peace, is now banned to a simple 1 day. So now we have to replace this with a card called Dark World Dealing, where you discard 1 card and add a card from your deck to your hand. Not a card, not a search, just draw 1 card, discard 1, draw 1, and you and your opponent both do that. Just run 2, just replace it 1 day apiece. You'll still take damage from your opponent, but that's a loss you gotta take to keep this deck alive. Also, so you and your opponent both can have have draw power and still hurt your opponent at the same time. Hand Destruction and Card Destruction. Hand Destruction is a great card in this deck, mostly because your opponent always has 5 cards in his hand thanks to Morphing Jar. When you have a whole bunch of spell cards, just put them all face down and use Card Destruction. You discard, say, 1 card, he discards 5. Eats through his deck a lot faster. Card Destruction, just in case you have nothing in your hand. And of course, staples, a Heavy Storm to get rid of any bothers on the field, such as Compulsory Evacuation Device or some Judgment or Warning or such. Doesn't really matter, just there just to clear the field just in case, and 2 MSTs to do the same purpose. The searchers of this deck are prior to this deck, because Morphing Jar is at 1 and you need to find it as soon as possible. The best searcher right now is Deep Divers, since Sangan is now banned. We must replace Sangan with another Deep Diver. Deep Diver's effect: when it's destroyed by battle, you can add a monster, for say in this case Morphing Jar, put it on top of your deck, which you can draw on your turn or whatever. Another great combo here is Giant Rat. You may not know why, but Morphing Jar and Needleworm are Earth monsters. And Giant Rat, when he's destroyed by battle, special summons an earth monster from the deck and face-up attack. Even if they have another monster attack, you can put it all face down with Book of Eclipse. Put your monsters face down, so you can flip summon them on your turn, and put your opponent's monsters face down. Not only do they draw a card at the end of the phase, but also they can't attack you anymore, which is great combo. But sadly, since Sangan and One Day Apiece is banned, this deck is not as broken as it used to be. So far, I've been running this deck in real life, and it has been undefeated. Last card, we will run one Reckless Greed, since truly we won't have that many turns, and since this is an OTK deck. Reckless Greed is a great card to have. You can replace one of the One Day Apiece with this. Truly, this is awesome. So since you only have that, if you with Morphing Jar deck, you either lose really fast or you win in one turn. So Reckless Greed is just a broken card having this sort of deck. So just to recap, I'm gonna go through the cards so you know which ones to insert. One Morphing Jar, 2 Needleworms, 2 Deep Sea Divers to replace Sangan, 3 AD Changers, 3 Book of Eclipse, and 1 Book of Moon. 3 books of Taiyu, 2 The Shallow Graves, 1 Monster Reborn, 2 Magical Stone Excavations, 1 Giant Rat, 2 Feathers of the Phoenix, 2 MSTs, and 1 Heavy Storm, 2 Magical Mallets, Double Duality, 3 Upstart Goblins, sadly now One Day Apiece, but 2 Dark World Dealings, 1 Card Destruction because it is only at 1 sadly, and 1 Hand Destruction, 1 Foolish Burial to send Morphing Jar to your graveyard and reborn it with Monster Reborn or the Shallow Grave or AD Changer, just to put Morphing Jar back face up. I forgot to go over this one. And lastly, the 1 trap card, 1 Reckless Greed. Well, that is the end of this deck profile. Thank you, YouTube. This has been PKA Games. Have a good night.